You are watching the Pan-African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tata. The Africa we want: unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherlands calling its diaspora home. Join my voice. Join my team. Join my campaign. Campaign 21 hashtag 1 million subscribers on the Pan-African Daily TV YouTube. Be a volunteer. Apply now. Be the new Africa. Can you hear me?
Yes, I
Hello?
can. Yes, I can.
Yes, I hear now. All right, as you can see, the numbers are rising, and because we are streaming live from the Farmers of Thought page, and we can already see everybody that is jumping into the house because the king is here. I want to thank all of you, and I'm actually celebrating this moment because King Maponga Joshua is here, and I had to, and I was really on pressure, right? I mean, I can't appear in front of the king in any kind of format, so there's some rituals that I had to go through to be able to make myself beautifully present in the, in the presence of his Majesty, as we can see. So I hope all the Shonas are in the house tonight. I hope the whole continent is connecting from east, central, west, north, and its diaspora worldwide. Because today is one kind of a conversation. First of all, we want to know why this king sitting here is the most sought after, is the most, I don't know, the foot on his necks are just uncountable. And like Farmers of Thought, there's been a lot going on. We have seen him on the continent. We also saw him in some places where we were like, wow, and what is he doing around here? So there's been a lot going on, and it's been a while that King Maponga Joshua has not been here, and he has a lot to answer back to his followers, to his people watching him across the continent. You know, the situation, the war in Russia and Ukraine and its impact on Africans everywhere, that cannot be ignored. And I think the king is here, would address some issues that are pertaining to that. But not only that, now we also saw that the continent of Africa is being sorted after like a mediator on this global, challenges. So we also would like to have some feedback from him, but of course, and also continental issues. Where has he been hanging out? What has he been doing? It is our responsibility and our duty, and he owes us some kind of accountability, as I must say, as a leader, to report back to his community what has been going on. So welcome into this house, into the great kingdoms of Africa, into the global family reunion on the Pan-African Daily, my king. How have you been feathering?
Well, what an elaborate introduction. Thank you very much for the kind and warm welcome to our home here on Pan-African Daily TV. Thank you for inviting me again, and we don't take for granted all the members out there who buy data, who block off time, who get involved, who contribute. We want to say thank you to all our sponsors and supporters and well-wishers. We want to appreciate you very much. And yes, it has been a hectic few days, so to speak. But I think I was here 2 weeks ago, is it? 2 weeks ago. And it has been a hectic 2 weeks, which saw me doing some project finalizing here. Things moved a bit slower towards the end of last month. There's some pieces of gadgets that were missing, and so the program got delayed, but we've secured an office space now, a house sort of thing. We've secured all the nitty-gritties furniture. I'm actually doing the furniture fittings now. I decided to change the whole thing and make it international. So we're just about there to complete that task. That's one side. I did a conference in Namibia, very interesting conference, to speak about pension funds and how African companies and how African pension funds are actually investing their money out of Africa. Now, that might sound like a very small subject until you understand that it is through pension funds that malls are built, villages are built. You can actually develop your own country. You have shortages of houses and etc. The best place to start is to take pension funds and build houses. As people pay rent, you pay the retired people in the backside. It's a both business model. And to find that African companies in the South are actually moving their money out of Africa and putting it in Dubai, putting it in Mauritius for interest. They are interested in the interest. They're not interested in the whole capital, that if we can invest 10 million into a housing project, when will we break even in terms of collecting rents? Maybe in 3 to 4, 5 years. And after that, it's profit forever. So we're busy, debating these traditional European institutions that are now in the hands of the black people. And when the black people are in power, they continue to do what the white man was doing, to chase around for offshore accounts, high interest, countries, tax havens, and then they go there and they're happy to wait for 2 to 3%, 6% returns at the end of the year of the 10, 15 million or 1 billion that you invest. Tell me you're happy to receive 1, 2, 3, 4%. So why can't you invest 1 billion with your people and let them enjoy the benefits of their own money? And so it was quite an very interesting conference that we had. Insurance people were there, the governing bodies were there, the government was there, the regulator of the financial sector were there, private business people were there, and it took us about 3 days to do that conference. Then I made my way back into Harare on Sunday, and here we are on Friday, back in Harare again, doing what we love to do the most. But on your question of the Ukraine story that you're raising, interesting. I saw some clip on social media that was quite interesting. One was saying America has invaded 22 countries around the world, destroyed infrastructure, killed people, bombed the place, drummed nuclear weapons, maimed children, babies, and mothers. And up to date, America has never been put on sanctions or held accountable for violation of human rights. It would be very interesting on the same breath to consider that Russia has not invaded any African country, for that matter. Instead, Russia was our key ally that assisted us as Africans to fight the colonialists through training of our soldiers. Secondly, through supplying us with weapons to fight the same system. It will be very interesting to notice how justifiable America's threatening statements around Ukraine could be to the extent of the dying of the people. Without mixing my words, the leader of Ukraine, strong as he may seem to be, I have lost respect in him. For the simple reason that as a man, when you notice that people are dying, children and women are running and walking on the snow, simply because you want to remain as a president, surely you can call Putin. Sit down together, negotiate, protect the women, protect the children. Don't take young girls and give them guns and go and get them their heads blown off. How do you train a young girl in Ukraine to hold a gun over 2 weeks? And you're going to be fighting Russians who have been training for 18, 25 years. Like, for crying out loud. I think this is a suicide mission. If you notice that the person you're dealing with, slightly more powerful than you, negotiate. Try by all means to find each other. In fact, the Russians and the Ukrainians are cousins, blood cousins. They are brothers and sisters. And I don't know why all of us want to be involved when siblings are fighting. Stay at home, Africans. Stay at home, Americans. If America goes back and Africa goes back, Russia and Ukraine can speak to each other nicely. The opposite of that, if they don't go back, Russia will escalate. We don't know what Putin may think, whether to temper and test some of his missiles, including nuclear. We don't know what that now means, that the American dollar is no longer being used for trading petrol within the Russian space. Now that the Chinese gate has opened up, that now you can buy fuel in the world using the Chinese yen. Very interesting. Now, if Americans think that the war of Afghanistan does not affect them, give them 6 months as petrol is being sold in yen. Very soon, BRICS and African transactions on the internet will start avoiding New York and London and go via Schengen and Moscow. What does that mean financially? It means that we are now strengthening China indirectly. We are strengthening North Korea indirectly. And we are creating more sympathizers for Ukraine in the Middle East and all other countries that were bombed by America for the past 22 wars that America went to. So we are seeing a global thing here, and the financiers of the world, the rich people of the world who make money out of war, this is their time to cash in. For every war has a sponsor. The question is, who is supplying weapons to America? Who is supplying weapons to Russia? Who is supplying weapons to Ukraine? All those people, by the end of this war, they'll be billionaires, but their billions are cursed because they are on the blood of the women and the children. I thank you.
Thank you so very much. This is exactly the point where we come into the next question. Like now, we also have been seeing on the news that, you know, they're stretching hands out there to South African president to mediate. Like you said, please, Africa, step back. America, step back. Let them fix their issues. Why on earth would they sought Ramaphosa's, let's just say, like a mediator? Since when?
Two reasons I will share with you on very high level. Let me start off with number one. It's a trap for Ramaphosa to take sides. When a mother and a father are fighting, a child must not take sides because the repercussions are quite dire. Why would they use such a small country like South Africa to mediate on such a big war when South Africa is not even a member of the Security Council? That must be a very good question. You must go to your fellow NATO leaders who signed the contract with you, who have an agreement with you of what to do, so that you can negotiate with each other. Then for me, that would be equal power. They must look for France, or they must look for Germany, or they must look for Britain to mediate for them, because they are part of the NATO themselves. But now you'll begin to understand this thing boils down to a very simple story. South Africa is registered in America as a private company. Okay?
What?
Yes. It's not a country, it's a business. You can Google now on New York Stock Exchange. South Africa is registered there as a private company, which has directors and shareholders, not the South Africans. And I'm sorry, many South Africans will hear this and be shocked to their boots. But it's a fact. It's a fact. And it can no longer be hidden anymore that the Reserve Bank is in private hands. The government is in private hands. Land is in private hands. Businesses are in private hands. The common South African now thinks that a fellow Zimbabwean or Mozambican is an enemy. They have not gone to school. They don't understand the scope and the nature of the monster which they are dealing with. So yes, South Africa must go and negotiate with Russia because their stock exchange on New York will be affected if they don't play the American song and they start talking the Russian song. It makes common sense. And ultimately, South Africa has got more relationships, economic relationships of the owners of South Africa is more with the Americans. Yes, they're doing business with Russians, but the Americans have an upper hand in terms of dictating and directly influencing the politics of South Africa. We have McDonald's, we have Coca-Cola, we have Pepsi, we have a huge American embassy in South Africa. We have businesses that are running from New York into Johannesburg and etc. America is well entrenched economically into the South African space, including the supply of pharmaceuticals and other things. So yes, in terms of business, it makes sense for Ramaphosa to side with Americans, but for political purposes, it makes sense to side with Russia. So maybe in the capricious, very fluid environment he finds himself in, I don't know who recommended that Honorable Ramaphosa should actually go and negotiate on their behalf. But if I was him, it's a big trap. It's a big trap. Either way, he will come back injured. You cannot say America and Russia will not tighten its hand. You will not say Russia and America will not tighten its hand. So you have two parents that are pulling the small little child apart, and they're saying, choose where you want to go. And I don't think personally, it's my own personal opinion, subject to criticism and change. I honestly, in the world of me, it's time to build South Africa. It's time to build the region. It's time to build nuclear weapons. It's time to build our own armies. It's time to build our schools. Let them fight. And at the end of the day, my honorable princess, you will know that this is socialism fighting capitalism. This war is more than 100 years old, 100 plus years old, from Cuba to Vietnam to Japan to Afghanistan. It's a simple thing. There are two snakes that Africa must deal with. Number one is called capitalism. Number two, it's called socialism, the European socialism. And of late, we are beginning to see a small little snake growing also in the Chinese form, which we may want to call, Eastern, but still the socialist state. China is socialist. So at the end of the day, we still have those two systems. So as an African, we must stand and watch and say, do we want to become capitalistic like America, or do we want to become socialists like Russia? What are the advantages of both? And how do you compare those governance systems to democracy, to meritocracy, to autocracy, to theocracy, and all other forms of governance? So at the end of the day, if you don't understand anything I've said, capture just one thing. Two white people are fighting over their ideologies, and as they are fighting, they are killing their women, they are killing their children. When Congo had 20 million dead, did the world stop? When Rwanda had 1 million dead, did the world stop? When South Africa had apartheid, Zimbabwe was colonized, did the world stop? The answer is a big fat no. Big fat no. Millions died in Iraq. No one wrote about it. Millions died in Afghanistan. No one said nothing about it. Millions in Syria, in Libya. Above all, the issues of controlled economic structures are killing more millions in hunger. And hunger speaks to sicknesses and disease, speaks to foreign mines putting cyanide and poison in our rivers, killing people. Who has stopped to account for the genocide, murder of the colonialists and Western powers, worse now when they are in bed with African leaders? And who has stopped? Who has stopped? Why must the world stop for Ukraine? And now Britain, for example, I was watching the BBC, they've relaxed their rules on immigration. Right? Ukrainians can come into Britain, they will be accommodated. The people will be paid £356 for looking after a Ukrainian person. Ukrainians are allowed to work. They actually give an accommodation, and the government is willing to pay you if you can give a Ukrainian person accommodation. Beautiful gesture. What are you doing about the Jamaicans that you brought as slaves in your country? What are you doing about the Africans who have been building your country for such a long time and you must queue for weeks for permits and etc.? So are we not surprised that the British policy is actually a racist policy? Now this time that there are white people who are in trouble, Britain is willing to change their policy to accommodate this. And the other day I pity the Prince of Buckingham for saying, I did not expect this to be happening in Europe. Where did you expect war to be happening? For crying out loud, every time you're selling guns, do you think they're going to be killing chickens? He needs help. He needs help, that prince. He needs help in his head. Every time you're sending weapons out of your countries, shipping them to Africa, are they going to kill goats? Now you come around because a fellow white country is in trouble. No, well, I think it's very disappointing to see such a thing happening in Europe. By default, you're saying wars must be happening in Africa, not in Europe. But until you deal with human greed, people that don't want to negotiate what they want with those that have them, this is equivalent to rape of nations, because you can't stop and ask. You rather force yourself on economies, force yourself on the people that are providing resources. And you say that this must not be happening in Europe. Send this question to him. Where do you want to send the war to? Keep it there amongst yourselves. I thank you.
Thank you so very much. The next question would be on the issue of exactly these immigration policies that are actually opening up. I mean, I think it's not just only UK. Germany is also on that step to like open your doors for Ukrainians for the first time that we ever heard that kind of a policy for individuals to open up their doors in terms of solidarity. But we also do see Russia also calling on Ukrainian students to come to Russia, get scholarship and study. So and on your platform, which thanks so very much, we are collaborating, or you've handed us, we saw these comments and feedbacks that people are like, isn't it the same thing that when they lack youths and strong people to build their economies, they shake these wars? And so it's not even just a matter of immigrants that are white, but even from the time of colonialism, slavery, or whatever, it has always happened so that the young people leave their countries and then come and work in their countries to build their economies.
You are mentioning a very, very interesting angle. It's a pity that there are people who feed on blood money. Blood money. Every time there's a war, that's when they begin to make profits, sizable amounts of profits through guns, through that destabilization. As you rightfully say, there's brain drain from one place to the other. But I want to raise something very, very interesting to you. 2 points rather. Number one will be the South African story. I think this is a beautiful picture. Here are European countries. When one of their countries is in trouble, fellow white people who don't have Ubuntu, fellow white people who don't have melanin, can house each other during moments of war and change their policies to suit their brothers who are suffering. Park that there. Let's move over to Africa.
Correct.
You find we don't even give them accommodation. We come with nobkiris and we butcher each other. Why are you here? Go back to your country. The South African story, Operation Dudula, is a great shame to African civilization and African traditions, that in the name of the colonial borders, we have lost respect for each other. And as long as Zimbabwe, Botswana, Lesotho, and Swaziland and Mozambique are unstable economically, South Africa must forget the brain drain will always happen. If I would advise Ramaphosa, He needs to convert the money he's using to return the refugees and invest that money in fellow neighboring governments and create employment. For crying out loud. You may retain a few of them so that they don't cross over. But we build South Africa in the south. The whole Zambia, Malawi, we all went to South Africa to build Johannesburg. Our forefathers and grandfathers died in there, in those mines. How dare a South African wakes up in the morning and thinks that I cannot come back to South Africa, where actually our own grandfathers and grandmothers perished in those mines while building the South African economy. Now South Africa thinks it can run ahead, and even when it is talking to other countries, almost says, we are better off, we are not like other African countries. At least our democracy is working. But we did not build it alone. We built it together. The growth of the region is the security of South Africa. And as long as the SADC region is unstable, and South Africa wants to play like a bulldog, it wants to play like another America in Africa, the problems of immigration will not be solved. But last, I want to take you to the issue of bread. You know what bread is?
Yes, my king. Yes.
Bread. The biggest producers of wheat in Europe is Russia and Ukraine. They supply more than 30%, in some good seasons, 35 to 40% of all the wheat that is being eaten in Europe. Now, you are smart. America is the biggest producer of wheat in South America in the whole world. And they have nowhere to put their wheat. And the next biggest market where wheat is needed is Europe. So why would America bother than, I'm just thinking aloud, close up Ukraine and Russia? This season, they won't plant anything. There is war. But people must be eating every day. And the wheat of America is 3 to 4, 5 times more expensive than the wheat of Ukraine and Russia. Now that Russia and Ukraine can no longer supply bread on the tables of the Europeans, so 30% of that market has now been swallowed back by the Americans. At the end of the day, from me, in my simple mind, there's no war in Ukraine, there's no war in Russia. It's children fighting for bread.
In as much as it sounds like funny, but I think that makes some sense out there. And like you said, it's relevant that we understand when two lions or giants are fighting, who actually suffers. Now, I want to come back to what you said earlier on about our responsibilities as Africans, because I saw you on a lot of occasions, even when you are addressing these issues, the problem is, where is Africa's position? I want to go back to where you said Africa is dealing with, with two snakes, and it's either socialism or communist or capitalism. Yes. So these are two. Where's Africa's position in it? I mean, you're talking like an indigenous king of the soil and son of the soil, a true son of the soil. And why should we fight? Where do we find our own niche? Who are we? Which system do we fit in? We don't fit to both. So where's our own?
I'll make it very simple so that even a young child can hear me and not say I never understood. When the liberation started from the hands of the colonialists and the liberation leaders sought to go to war to fight the colonial system, they went to war so that they can restore land back to the indigenous people, which they were able to do in terms of winning the war. The only problem occurred that when they came back into the land after winning the war, they made themselves the kings, who are now called presidents. And they did not return the land back to the indigenous leaders. At the end of the day, they are returning and becoming presidents, forced them to go to bed with the same colonial system and adopt, because they were all called, by the way, to Lancaster House to go and sign the Westminster Treaty, which is a treaty that all Commonwealth, which I call common poverty countries, must sign before they get into power, to commit that they are not going to destabilize white businesses. They are going to adopt a progressive constitution that shuns away traditional and indigenous leaders and allow a democratic system model. Those constitutions, all of them, are photocopies from Westminster, with logos and few names changed here and there. But the content of those constitutions, from Uganda to Kenya to Tanzania to Zimbabwe to South Africa to Botswana to Namibia, name them. It's one simple constitution, photocopied. Some pages are missing in some certain constitutions. Same monster, same poison. Our educated community has been our weakest link, because they have not come forward to challenge this demon crazy, this democratic system we seem to be so excited about, but yet for the past 60 years, it has not worked for the African. It has produced dictators for us. It has created wars for us. It has resulted in abuse. It has not allowed indigenous people to own businesses, because the legal framework, the constitution, the business environment, the banking system are all white entrenched. They're all white. You can't access those resources, even if it's your country. So here you have an Uncle Tom, an African leader, who is supervising a constitution on behalf of absent landlords who are sitting in Lancaster House and in London. So you understand why are we in trouble? Because we don't want to change. We want to become the new colonialists to the Africans. We want to enjoy the benefits of these offices as those that were sitting in them. Some of our African leaders, they did not even change the paint of the office that they walked into from the white man. He just went in there and found the chair. Yeah, bring me a newspaper to read. Now he thinks he's in power. So we needed a technocratic team that would toothpick not only politics, jurisprudence, education, but even so to look also at indigenous governance systems, so that we could combine a bit of the progressive of the West, but keep a good chunk of our self-determination within our African cultural space. I thank you.
It sounds, I don't know, contradictory in a sense, like when you say our intellectuals are not stepping up to speak. And if you look at the population of these intellectuals that we're saying, is they were fed on the same system, for instance. And so if an African is not conscious of its pre-colonial history, how do you think?
When I'm using the intellectuals, I was hoping that they are true intellectuals who went to school, and after studying and understanding things, you come back home and you want also to change your home to adapt. So no, they do like this in the West. We do like this here in Africa. Okay, let's take this and let's come up with something that. But they come in here and totally maintain the wall of divide between the educated and the uneducated.
Very correct. Very correct. I can only do agree to that. So if we look at the quality of intellectual that you're talking about, we're talking about skills, and which every other person keeps saying, diaspora, come home with your skills. Now, diaspora, if you're not conscious of your skills, some are saying come home like investors. Some are saying come home, bring your money to the continent. And so what is the difference? Like, I am here in Germany, and I said, I want German companies, who are interested to mine Africa to come. And I would be seen like the diaspora that was in Germany and have had the skills. This is something we have to separate. I'm just another sellout facilitating. So the passion that you stress on, or that we are stressing on? Do we say, come and let's build Africa, or we just say, bring your money and invest?
I would rather start with the more serious people who want to come and settle and ownership and live with us. I've stopped talking employment altogether. I'm talking
Thank you.
ownership. And as you rightfully put it, we cannot be business negotiators on behalf of the colonial system and bring new investors who are going to create employment and still oppress our people, dig our resources, and leave ditches for us. And we call that progress, because you can build a tarred road and etc. But what are you going to drink? Where are you going to plant your food? Now that the land is poisoned, what are you going to do with it? So progress and development must not only be limited to money, but I want to coin a new word called ecological economics. Ecological economics. By so saying, I am saying that our economy must be very conscious of the environment in which it is making money from.
Correct.
Our development must be sensitive to Mother Nature, to Mama Africa. That what we're going to leave for our children as a legacy. So it's not about buildings like in Johannesburg. And yet the whole lower part of Johannesburg are mines and ditches and rubble that is sitting there. We can't call that development. In the short term, yes. But in the long term now, the city of Johannesburg has to spend millions, if not billions, to rehabilitate all those places. And who must rehabilitate them? Whose money is it? The same taxpayers, same poor people. What happened to the people who are mining here? They're sitting in Dubai. They're sitting in Britain. They're sitting in New York, enjoying 100 years of mining gold out of Africa. We call that development? I beg to differ. I beg to differ. We need ecological economics, EE, intelligence.
I mean, come to think about it, like you just said, we do also would really recognize the fact that, like you said, yes. What about just looking? I take a very clear example, like the issue of this ongoing conflict in Ukraine and Russia, and I also ask myself, why do we keep saying that? Oh, you see, they're taking only their own people. Who actually should they take? Where is that wall that we want to think that is not as stupid as Africans are, that will leave their own people and serve other people? Now, I don't think it is wrong, but I just think we always do wrong and expect other people to do wrong. I don't know whether I'm wrong, but I look at the conflict, like you said, and we see Africans being stranded, for instance, like you said, but we have neighboring countries where all of us as diasporans are there. So if they don't have a sanctuary in our own houses, but we fold our arms and then keep blaming others and like they're opening their doors to, what about us? I'd like you to talk about our own part in taking the responsibility to take care of our own. What is wrong?
Yes, we have thousands dying on the Mediterranean Sea. We have other hundreds that are coming in through the airports. The African has not, this might sound sad, but true. The African will not willingly go out to help another African, so to speak. You will be shocked that there's some Africans who are going to open up their homes to Ukrainians, but they've never opened their homes to a country person from Cameroon. Why? Because this time around, I'm going to be receiving 500 Deutschmark. So there's a financial benefit. So we needed to understand again that we have lost a lot more than we think. We've lost our value of being, our value of togetherness, our common identity as a people, our common coherence, the umbilical cord that binds us together as a people. That when I see a fellow African, I could stop my car, I could stop and reach out and grit. And when I felt it when I was in London for some time, and you're walking there in some parts of, I was in Norfolk, Bury St. Edmunds, way out in the north there. I think we were just about 3 or 4 black people around that place. And when I would walk around town and I meet one of the black people, I think the other guy was from where? Liberia or somewhere there. And just the fact that he was black, just to see a fellow black man, you'd have not seen a black man in 2 weeks to 3 weeks to 4 weeks, except your wife and children. And you meet a black person and all of a sudden something in your spirit says, that's your brother. That's your brother. You know, and you would shout at each other across the road, hey, how are you? Just to connect again. You know, that bond that binds us together. And in the absence of that, it is easy for Africans to kill each other based on tribal divides, ancient wars, and etc., way and the prejudices that we've been hearing about each other, derogative words we speak about each other. Nigerians are this, Cameroonians are this, Kenyans are this, Tanzanians. You go to each country, when they talk about the other country, you hear this derogative language as if our tribe is superior to yours. Our tribe is superior to yours. I wish I can begin to hear in Africa that says we are the great Africans. All of us. We are the people. We are a nation. We are not an individual. We are not a one tribe. We are not one clan. We are a people. And African, we can do it as Africans. And we need to find that common bond amongst us. And I hope we can learn from what is happening in Ukraine as it is spilling over into London, spilling over into Germany, that white people can look after each other, of course, for a financial benefit. So are we saying that our relationships to each other must be motivated by money, or there is something much more that must bring us to each other, to sympathize with each other rather than just money? I thank you.
Thank you so very much, King Maponga. It's another question that arises from what you said about the conference in Namibia. I mean, you talked about the Pagan economies, and we've been seeing that there's been quite a lot more of conferences and the awakening and this consciousness that we're talking about. Africans are actually like, yes, this is the time is now. Now, apart from just being at the conference and meeting all these great minds and touching the real sectors, people that really matters in this concept of the Pagan economy or investment, did anything concrete came out, like you said, we concluded on this, and this is the next step that we came out from the conference with?
I did. I was not the moderator of the show or function. I did the opening remarks on a Thursday, and I flew into Johannesburg, and I concluded the closing remarks on the Zoom meeting. They are compiling together the minutes of the conference. A good friend of mine, Mike Ndinisa, who is running MN Capital, was the host for the whole conference, and there were breakaway sessions and private deals that the investors and the insurance people and the trade unions were beginning to have conversations as to how are they going to be implementing their strategies in the ears, of course, of the regulator. So there was quite some interesting things. Some of the deals were private, but in the bigger scheme of things, the call was made that we needed to pick up a quota, a certain amount of Namibian and Southern African monies, a certain amount. It must be a law that all the pension funds must at least allocate a sizable amount of the money to be invested back in the country. If we don't do that, that is the table of the biggest corruption that is happening, because workers are making their money and you are taking percentages from them, and then you take the money and go and borrow it to someone else who builds their economy there. And the common people are still talking about African poverty. In some of those cases, we don't even need a penny of donor money. We don't need a penny. Because there, like in Zimbabwe here, right in Zimbabwe here, the national pension funds and etc., billions are sitting in there. Botswana, same thing. Billions. Namibia, same thing. So the question is, do we have good leadership in these pension funds, who understand investment strategies. Right now, there's shortages of housing, for example. Student accommodation is a big crisis, and that's the direct money. Build up the student accommodation, sign a lease agreement with the university. By the end of the month, you're collecting your rentals from 5,000 students. Take that to the bank. You break even in less than 5 years, 6 years. You're done. And for the next 100 years, you're taking money. So is it that we don't have the money or we don't have leadership? This is where my battle is right now. That we now have the economy in our hands, but the people that are holding the reins of the economy, I don't think some of them have a full understanding of what it takes to take risk with your own people and change their environment for good. By the way, those who try nothing fail nothing. If you try nothing in life, you fail nothing. So let's try something. Let's do something with our own money.
A lot of Africans have actually, though the awakening is there and they do understand the challenges and the opportunities that they do have on their continent to be actually the rich set of youth that we want for the Africa. But irrespective of that, regardless of everything, Africans, on the survey that we did, don't really see a benefit. They don't find themselves like, I am part of this. Yes, I invest my time. We can all struggle. We can all fight. At the end of the day, one thing is certain: we don't even have a currency, right? We don't have a currency. You just talked about Russia is asking the US or Germany to say, if I give you my oil, you need to pay me in the rupees. Chinese yen is saying, okay, yes, we will remain business partners, but you need to buy in my yens. When is Africa going to have its own currency?
This conversation, we will keep on saying it until people finally understand that it's only when we reach that moment where our paper money, by the way, currency is currency is useless. It's you can photocopy papers and give currency. What is really important is the backup of that currency.
Correct.
What is it that you can say this is $5 or this is 5 rupees? Based on what? Based on what? On the design of the paper? No. There must be a vault somewhere where minerals and resources are stacked up. Then you say these resources are worth so much money. Therefore, we photocopy money to the value of our resources. I wonder, honestly speaking, this is now me allowing my mind to fly way beyond where you can find me. I wonder if right now we can collect all the American dollars that are circling in the world, and we walk up to the Central Bank of America. Will we find equivalent gold reserves to the photocopied paper money that America is circulating around the world? No one has power to do that on the face of the world. Allow me, therefore, because no one can do it, allow me to throw in a cat amongst the pigeons. We may be shocked to find that the same inflation story America is talking about, America is also photocopying money and allowing this money to go on the market without having the resources that back it up. So if you are talking about the African economy, we're still on the advantageous side. We have our resources. And if I would be given a chance to create an African economy, this is how I would do it, my princess. I'll just establish one mineral or 2 minerals that we have in Africa, their total value. I don't even need to dig them. I don't even need to dig anything. Because when you dig the gold, you polish it up and you go and put it in a vault. You don't eat it, you do nothing. You only use 1 or 2% for making rings. The rest of it is used to back up currencies. So you don't need to dig it up. This might sound weird to you. I'll explain it further. If I can establish that under my house, I have 300,000 tons of gold, and it can be proved geologically, I can go to the bank and print 300 million worth of paper, which is guaranteed by what I already have in the ground. So who needs to mine? Papers are for doing transactions, or make it e-based, Luna, whatever currency you want to run. But people can begin to transact without putting a single mine to pull out the resources. Because even after we pull them up, we are moving them somewhere else. And at the end of the day, your gold is over there. You are here full of papers. You take gold. You take your gold to someone, and then they give you papers. Are you sick in your head? You can transact here with your gold one with another. No, there's a government policy. There's a law. It is legal for you to carry gold because you are not a miner. The government will arrest you. The police is waiting. Then you create all these laws and regulations which prohibit barter system. I bring you my 2 grams, 3 grams, give me a cow. I give you this, give me a goat, give me this. We can transact without the presence of money totally. But since people are already used to money, we can move cash to each other, but we don't need to mine. We don't need to dig anything. We take the quality, the quantity of what we have. We benchmark it to our banks, we print up the money. People transact amongst each other. What stops us? And then the government works in as a guarantor when we are doing exports. We have 16 trillion worth of reserves here. Can you please give us a loan of 4 million? And then we give the reserve, and when we pay back. When you fail, then they will come for the resource to the value of what you failed to pay. So for me, it makes it more negotiable in terms of using our resources as a means of us accessing foreign funds. In that case, therefore, you will have been able to create a beautiful express trust arrangement, which allows the country to put its resources in the trust of the community and the people. And then the government works in as a transactor between the community and the funders around the world. But anyway, sometimes those who have money don't have brains, and those that have brains don't have money.
Exactly. The words of Professor P.L. Olumumba say, those who have ideas don't have power, and those who have power don't have ideas. But of course, it makes quite a lot of sense. But particularly, this is just a takeaway. Like, I want to appreciate all of you that are watching. Wow. I mean, 264, 255 from all other sources. And these just 2 sources that are connected. We want to appreciate you. I mean, just being here is part of that contribution that we're talking about, making the change for the Africa that we want. So your time, your bundles, sitting upright to watch us, we truly appreciate you. Now, what if you just do one thing for us? Because this is what we are going to be building. And King Maponga has all these resources, not just in terms of ideas, but human resources. And he has given us his platform where you are watching us to say, I don't need it to be my own house or anything. If you can use it to educate our people, and let's liberate ourselves and benefit from our own continent. So I just want to beg you to take a minute and just subscribe. If you're watching from anywhere that you are, drop a comment in the chat box where you are watching from. We did like to know what your own questions also are. You're watching us. It will be really, really impossible for us today to open up the lines to take your questions. But if you do just drop a questions in the chat, we are going to slate it up to King Maponga. And of course, we're going to be doing a lot of series with him. Like you heard, he already told us the studio is getting really ready. But we know that as a king, he's not going to really be in that space. So we have created this partnership and relationship to know when he's around to address us all, so you can have a comfortable place on the Pan-African Daily TV with Dr. Susan. And we are going to take your questions and respond back to you in due time. So thank you for that. King Maponga, I just had something. Like, you talked about gold. When you look at Ghana and Ghana kings, and they welded this whole gold thing, just like to shame the world and say, you're talking about gold? You look at just a simple king, they have all the. Is this one different from the other ones that we keep talking about?
Yeah, it's interesting that at least you would find the kings of Ghana using it for making stuffs, using it for making necklaces and other things.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's just another mineral that we have in abundance. And for me, even looking at the king himself of Ghana, with all that gold on him, just himself standing there, he can take his throne and his jewelry as a trust and actually access money from the banks internationally to develop his own space without losing his own gold. And the profits of his business, he can pay back his debt. Because banking works with debit and credit. Simple. You work with debit and credit. You either you debit money or you credit it. So how do you credit money? You credit money on value, and then you debit on payment. So simply put, if we have something that you have, then you can walk to the bank and say, "This is what I have. Can I have money equivalent to this? But I'm still going to keep it. Here's my address, so that in case I fail to pay for it, you come and take it from me." So I think we just need some bit of financial savvy, financial intelligence to bug this colonial system and fully understand how it operates and manipulate it for our own benefit as Africans. But yes, the gold, the platinums, the silvers, the coppers, the cobalts in Congo, the coffees and other resources that we have, I feel we need to have one workshop. Allow me to suggest to you, we need one workshop where we're going to be looking at the gap of African development, which is entrepreneurship. I want us to discuss that subject vigorously, because we here, Africa must produce more. We must plant more. We must what more. We must mine more. We must dig more. No, we don't need to dig more. We don't need to plant more. We need to start manufacturing more. Then the value of our products will increase. Because as long as you are selling nuts, you're only getting money for nuts. But when you sell oil, you're able to get the nut shells, use them for feeding cattle. The oil can be manipulated into a dozen products. And the value of a small little bottle of oil is far much more than a bag full of nuts. So maybe we need to start understanding. You're selling tons of coffee, and then you are buying bottles of powdered coffee, sometimes 2-3 times more expensive than the whole big bucket of coffee that you send out. So where are we missing it as Africans? And I think we need a workshop. It's a real serious workshop. We'll advertise it for the young people. We want to look at the gap on the market for the Africans, particularly you guys who are now coming back from school. You don't need to go back farming again because your parents are already farming. Go back to your villages. You don't need to go back there and mine. They're already mining. Go back to your villages and see how do you beneficiate and develop the products which are already being produced by your parents. That is the next generation of investments. And the next millionaires are going to be coming from the manufacturing industry. That's how China built its cities, where they do technology, where they do TVs, where they do this, where they do this. That's it. So if you are good in cotton, build up cotton factories. If you are doing cocoa, coffee, build up factories. Start off small, 5%, 10% of the local production, improve your quality. Send each other to school to go and study there. How are they making chocolates and cakes and what? If that's what you want to eat, then improve on the raw materials that your country is producing. And I will not miss this point. The weakest link, again, another weak link, is the disjoint between our education and our raw materials. They seem not to talk to each other. You study one thing and your raw materials, you don't know them at all. At the end of the day, you look for a job where you can be appreciated more. And yet where you are being appreciated more pays you far much less than you improving and developing your own resource. I wonder if that makes sense.
Absolutely, it does. You just talked about the workshops for this. I really want to appreciate you because we actually now have a link, a page official page, the panafricandailytv.org. Anyone can click in. And under that, because these are recommendations that you keep doing every day, even the other scholars and the other experts, the other professors have been saying the same thing. So under that page, we have what is called the academy. And the academy is putting, we've already put, even you're already circulating on it, and all the experts, putting this group of conscious African scholars and world-class, I call them world-class expert teachers, mentors, trainers, consultants. And what we are going to start doing is actually organizing this weekly webinars and seminars for really interestees. Because we talk generalizing and we already always compact everything. Today we've talked about economy, politics. We're still going to touch a little bit of culture as an economic product for the African as well. And because you mentioned the fact of manufacturing, it's very simple question that I want to know from you. Did our parents not manufacture? That's the first thing. Number two, everything that we keep saying is as if we never ever did it, but it's all circulating in our economies. Rice is being produced by Africans on the continent. Fabrics are being produced by Africans on the continent. Cotton industries are being. The problem is, or the question is, do Africa buy made by African brands? So what is it that we are going to recycle again? An African on the continent prefers to buy a Chinese made rice from a Chinese on the continent, or from a, I don't know, whatever. But the rice that is made on the continent and mothers that are selling it, they won't buy, because also the cost of manufacturing and production is really, because we don't do the economy of sales or scales, it is not really compatible to the market. So you talked about manufacturing. What about marketing made by Africans for Africans? So imagine even the one that we have now, the diaspora would buy, because manufacturing, I don't think is really the problem. But do we buy made by Africans? Do we do that?
Yes, we do. Yes, we buy made by Africans, branded by Europeans. So the product inside is still an African product, but the packaging that has been put there is a Western package. So again, having looked at it from that angle, it will be interesting to note that we spoke about this, I think, sometime last year. Correct. When we were talking about networking of businesses. I'm old, but my mind is still sharp, yeah? I can still remember.
No. We learned something yesterday from Dr. Elaine that we can live up to 130 something. It's just in the mind. And he said all Africans, if you did not watch that program yesterday, never use the word OLD, because your mind programs you to that stage. So never. And I think you heard it today.
I've learned, actually. I'm 50 years young then. I'm 52 years young.
Oh, no. If you take the Ethiopian calendar, you should even be in your early 30s. I mean, look at the way you're looking. We say they don't track.
I'm going to Ethiopia. I'm going to Ethiopia now and subtract my years. Yes, but what I was saying is the marketing space, particularly the rebranding of Africa. I'm glad the other theme we had come up with initially on the great Africa, not making Africa great again, but building the great kingdom of Africa. That concept of rebranding and speaking positively about our continent. The marketing people who have the skills of marketing. Come on, guys, do us a favor, man. Go back to your mothers, your sisters, and your cousins who are in the villages, who have businesses, but those businesses are not branded properly. Their products are not packaged properly. They are not well researched. You have the skill. You've done marketing from school. You know how to package, how to put a logo and brand and. I mean, this afternoon, for example, I went to the market and I bought these traditional fruits here. Very nice, dark, very juicy, and etc. And I'm saying to some young people out there, in Ishona we call them huvu or tsuvu, you know. This is a very sweet and dark chocolate sort of thing.
I know it.
Chocolate. Yeah, there's no chocolate. There's no chocolate that has been made from this so far. There's no yogurt that has been made from this so far. Even to think around the business of some of these things that we have in abundance as Africans. We know strawberry ice cream, strawberry juice, strawberry this, strawberry that, but it's just one fruit. How many fruits do we have in Africa if we must begin to say, can we begin to beneficiate, add value, package these things, create new products out of these things? It's a big market. By the time you're combining this and that and that and that to have an indigenous fruit salad, you'll be shocked some of these things have higher protein than pieces of meat and pieces of other proteins that we are drinking from the pharmaceuticals. So when I say culture is in economy, I'm saying in simple. Go and study and see how much money people are making out of their own knowledge systems. And come back to your own village and see how much knowledge, how much resources, how many fruits, how many vegetables, how many leaves of trees that we eat, and the juices we drink in the forest that some people don't even know, and their quality of healing properties. Who will go down there and create businesses out of those and create employment for the community? So sometimes this concept of making money must be broken down to being creative, being innovative. Sit down with yourself, go back to nature, understand these things, hold the thing, eat it. And while you're eating it, think, how can I take this to the world? Go take it to the science lab and go and find out what is in it. What are the active ingredients that are in it? That's your patterning right. Then come back home. Open up a small little factory. Start by using hands. Produce a few products. Call some of us. We'll link you up and line you up with other people that are interested in investing in these things. Boom. Colgate is just some fluorides that are mixed up with fluoride that even kills the brain. We have indigenous African Colgate that we have in our villages here. Saloons are selling you shampoos with baby embryos and etc. We have traditional shampoos on the ground. We have traditional eye lotions on the ground. But who will step down and go there and find these indigenous ingredients and study them to understand them? Then take them to the lab, bring them back, package them, think around it, use them yourselves, and sell them and make money. So we can make money out of our economy. And that economy is not only fashion and food. It goes to pharmaceuticals, medicines. It goes to governance. It goes to banking. When you talk about culture being an economy, including language, it is culture. And by the way, in the next couple of days, or after the system is up, I want to start classes maybe once every week or twice a week for teaching Kiswahili on my site and begin to unite Africa into one conversation.
Thank you so very much, because that's already on the program on Learn Swahili. And so thank you. If you're coming up as a mentor and a teacher on that, we are going to follow up that at every time and space. Let's just work out the calendar together. I mean, you said something that is very important, and I see more than 1,000 people that are live with us today. And I just want to encourage you on one thing. Package everything that you said in culture and economy. As an African, just ask yourself, what can I sell? That word is enough. What can I sell? Not what can I buy? The attitude of what can I sell would open up. We take all the Chinese children. We keep saying it all the time. Or let's just take another case study even on the continent. Look at the Nigerians and the Igbo culture. I mean, we trade. And even you see the Europeans, when they're jealous, they come and they say, oh, you see, you people, you don't leave your children to go to school because they go and sell water and talk. No. Financial literacy is the first thing. If you don't know, what can I sell? In Europe, they sell everything. They sell you even oxygen. They sell leaves. They sell waste. They sell dirt. Anything somebody would ask you how much does it cost?
Even water, they sell water. How cruel can you be to sell water? Water.
I mean, so let's drink water and mind our African business, my king. as we are putting this, yes, I share. We drink water and mind our African business is the new slogan where we're telling Africans, sell something. Just sell something. Just wake up every morning.
Let me make a business deal with someone there. If there's someone in Nigeria who can send me maybe 5 kgs of cola, that chewing cola, bitter cola, please let them give me your number. I'll send them the money and they can send me some cola. Just start business.
I already have a supply for it. We have a supply even in Cameroon. Do you mean the red one or the other one that makes you not sleep?
I want both.
Okay. Yes, we have suppliers because we did that research, remember, and it was also your idea. We threw that research out the last year, and the whole Southern Africa was asking how they could get access to that. But we know countries that actually have them in quantum. So let's talk about it after the show.
I have a group of men here who are struggling with many issues and blood issues.
Exactly. That's why I asked the red or the other one.
We need to make sure that the sisters are happy.
Oh, please. You see, that's the point. All right, that's another conversation for another day, my king. But of course, it's very important to know that we're not only going to be holding these conferences with King Maponga and the other networks that we're building up. We're going to start doing Made by African Expo, live expo. So you have something to sell. That's what I was saying. Think, what is it that I can sell? Just anything. Anything, just say, what will I sell? Every African that is watching me from this moment, as you go to bed tonight, just ask yourself, what is it that I can sell? Because the moment you ask that question, there's always somebody that will say, how much do you sell this? And so because one of the things that we talk about our economy, we are not selling, and there's nothing for us in the market. We keep always, what can I buy? We buy the Gucci's, we buy the this and this and this. Please make your own. And just put, so what can I sell is the slogan 2023. And you already open it, my king. You want to buy cola, not the one that
while you're on the idea of selling, I would want to push it maybe one step backwards and say, create something, before you sell it, create something. Discover something, package it nicely, pattern it nicely, and name it after yourself. Name it. This is this. The power that we have when it comes to innovation, it makes us gods. It makes us gods, literally. You create this, like Steve Jobs and say Apple, like Bill Gates would say Microsoft. Like this other boy in Britain would say Virgin Active, it's mine. Only. So go back to your community, identify something, study it, name it, then pattern it, then package it. Don't forget, while you are producing it, you must also replenish the resources from where you are taking it from. So if it is harvesting from trees, remember to plant the other trees so that you don't end up destroying again and your business will have a dead end. So you need to understand that the cycle, that while you are harvesting on that other end, you must be putting newer plants or newer resources that can replenish what you already have. But before you die, if you are within the reach of my voice, create something. Create something.
Ashe, Bayete, my king, Bayete. Of course, what can I sell is already the idea of you can sell something if you don't create. So, but when you ask a simple sentence, it takes you back to now, what can I produce and then sell? So put it in your mind today, like we say, young Africans, the sky is not your limit. We keep saying the limit. No, the sky is not your limit. Africa is the shiniest star on the global continent right now. Bring something on the table. Your own Africans in the diaspora, the ones in the diaspora on the continent, we are ready and we have our own monies to buy what we make for ourselves. Even if we buy and throw, we want to put our money where we all are able. So go ahead and create and don't ask for, I want to look for a job. Create something, Africans. You are so talented. Create even just a story. When we say create, must not be a product, a King Maponga. We're talking also about the media that we're struggling to put together, you and I. But what? Creation of something or sell something is even a story that you can package and sell. You can sell anything, but just have the mind of a seller, not a mind of a consumer. That will do us a lot of good. So I'm coming back.
Can you imagine some of the biggest criminals in the world? They're actually selling air time. They are selling us air.
Yes.
And they call it air time, you know.
It is no matter how we laugh about it, but of course let's laugh because that's the opening. Because I think most of the time of always coming here, we talk about, going back to our time. It's difficult for an African to say, when we say do business, probably to break it down again and say, this is how you do business. And I think that's the workshops that we'll be going to do, in the practical things that actually are our daily experiences and reflectors. So I want to thank you so very much. A lot of people are saying, yes, we are already creating. I can see in the chat those that are saying, yeah, they create a lot of stuff. Look at even football.
Let me show you something. Let me show you something before you go. Something that someone created. Let me show you something.
Go ahead. So yes, why he's coming to show us that, please just make sure you've clicked and subscribe on the Pan-African Daily TV YouTube, as we're getting this campaign of, global family reunion. You share to 10 people, they click subscribe, they share to 10 people. So it's 10, 10, 10 families. We don't want to be a part of this process alone. We are not selfish people. We are loving people, and we want everyone to be the success, and every African to own and to be the richest on their own resources. Go ahead. Wow. What is that?
One young man saw me working, doing my work, and then he put all the African countries, all of them, the 54 or 50 whatever countries, and made me this big,
Eish. Wait. Are the beats having the names on the countries in it?
Yes, each country. Let me look for your Senegal, Cameroon. Here you are. Here's Cameroon.
Where's African Jamaicans?
The Jamaicans. Yeah, the young man, I don't think his mind was as big as the diaspora. He just presented me as a gift, but he put all the African countries. Maybe I should add the diaspora here. I still have spaces. I can add the diasporans here on the center.
I think he's my king. I think he's very correct, because he knows all the diasporas belong to one of those countries.
Belong to one, yeah. But
yeah, so there's no reason.
But so imagine the art. He just took the things and boom, came up with this huge, but it's heavy. I need energy when I'm putting it.
I wanted to ask, do you parade? How do you do that? Anyway, you have your royal stool. We saw even, when Rutendo came and showed us your royal stool, and he was afraid to sit on it. So I think those are some of those legacies that you're keeping, and you can even open a museum.
So when people see me putting on some of these things, they must not think that I make them. Some people just come and they present the gift. Like this afternoon, I was so excited. A friend of mine sent me he's posting me some gabas from Cameroon there. It'll be very interesting. I can't wait.
I saw them. I happened to see them, and the person that is doing that is my aunt that is sending it to you, because he said, each time you come on the Pan-African Daily TV, you have to dress like a king from the Cameroon. So be aware that, my handwriting is all, and we're going to be shipping all those indigenous fabrics from countries to countries to all of us. All of us are going to be in what we call our own fabrics. If we're not dressed in black,
I have an idea. Maybe someone can pick it up also from here. How about creating a museum of African fabrics?
Of course.
Where we can actually have a proper museum of an African thing. We can do this from anywhere, and we make it virtual. Then we can also preserve our textiles. This can go for pharmaceuticals also. This can go for education, like Timbuktu, where there were books. So you need to start owning our knowledge systems and place them and preserve them so that the next generation, when they come, they can find those resources there. If we can have the fabric given to us, plus how it is manufactured, and then that whole science is written and preserved. 1,000 years later, our children will be reading about those who were here in 2020, and our names are going to be included in the annals of history.
Your follower is asking, is there Sudan on that bit that you have?
It's a wood and beads. It's done with wood
Yes.
and beads. Yes. Just
Okay.
colorful, beautiful, yeah.
Beautiful. You see, this is exactly the market system and the strategy that you say we have to hold this workshop on GAP. And I'll be reaching out to you this week to see in the next couple of 2 weeks, we should have that workshop going on for young people, for the diaspora to contact. It's going to be a workshop on Made by African Expo. And so we're coming to the table. Who are the manufacturers? Who are the buyers? Who are the suppliers? Who are the consumers? Who are the retailers? Now, what does a diaspora need? What is it that you need? What does the continent need from the diaspora that they produce and stuff? Wow.
One of your listeners there, they wanted to see where Ghana is.
Yes.
There is Ghana. There is Ghana.
Okay. And it's a handmade.
It's all handmade, like literally.
All right. Do you mind if I want to open the lines and take some 1, 2, 3 questions? Because I think your audience is really charged up. Like, you know, when am I going to open the lines? Is it okay, my king?
Just two or three phone calls. Let me rest also.
I know. I also do need to rest because we have a power program coming up, and I already can have the first caller coming in. Please, 2, 3 calls. I can take it for today, but we're still gonna do a special Q&A, question and answer with King Maponga on everything that he plans to change the Africa that we want. So yes, hello. Yes, hold on. Let me put on. Good, thank you. Yes. Is it possible? Is it possible? No, you're watching the show and you're calling. That's why we are in this mess. So turn off the other show.
Say again.
Turn off the other show that you're watching. That's why we have the echoes. You're watching me, so turn off the other device.
Mute the sound on the other.
Or you just mute your sound.
No, I think it's not off. Good evening, Dr. Susan.
Good evening, go ahead.
Good evening, Dr. Bishop Joshua Maponga. Good evening, my brother.
Greetings.
I just want to congratulate you, Dr. Susan. This is my first time I'm in Africa Daily TV, and I want to share my little contribution.
Go ahead.
You know, I'm also of the opinion that this is the time where we need to really, as African, we need to take decisions. Especially, you know, we have to value our raw material, you know, and we have to, we can take a decision to say we lock the entire, you know, the borders of Africa, that no raw material have to be exported outside Africa. And we start demanding the manufacturing plant so that we can do our own manufacture. Everything that have to be produced must be manufactured here in Africa and be exported as finished product. That's one of the ideas, so that we can safeguard
our resources,
our wealth, our resources. Yes. So it's just a matter of, you know, making African leaders understand. We know that our African leaders are in prison. I know for sure, but most of them, they might be innocent. They were betrayed. Now they are in it. They are unable to come out. But we need to really guide them, advise them with courage instead of attacking them, because the most dangerous animal that is killing Africa is shadow government. The shadow government is the animal that is killing Africa, and it's where we need now to talk more. I think I want to give it to you, Dr. Susan Tata, so that we can make it a program, and our Bishop Joshua Maponga. We need to expose these shadow governments. How do they operate? What is their agenda? How, all those kind of things. I'm just trying to share my little knowledge,
okay,
so that we can expand it.
Okay.
Let me end there.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. It's noted. Yes, and I will pick the other call so that you can just answer. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Greetings.
Greetings to you too. I'm just so excited that you've picked my call. I really appreciate that. Yeah. First and foremost, I just want to thank you for the beautiful program that you do, especially King Maponga and you, Susan Tata. Yeah, I'll go straight to the point. I kind of like believe in your work, in that what you do, especially like bringing this wonderful work to the African people. I am so inspired, especially like by Joshua Maponga's writings, and I am kind of like a collector of books in Ireland, but it's really hard like to get the physical copies here in the diaspora. And I did try to kind of like get in touch with Joshua Maponga at some point. But I understand he's quite busy. He's really into his work. So I just wanted to find if we can create that channel as well to link the diaspora with the material that we are producing now. I do have actually his book, Find Your Truth.
Find Your Truth, yes.
So You Want to Be a Martha. Yes, I do have those copy, and I'm enjoying them so much. Yeah, and the other one as well is I did kind of like bother him quite a bit about the diaspora like wanting a gold mine to venture into that. So I understand he's very busy, but if possible, like I would want to kind of like follow that up, and to also to see if we can kind of like venture into that.
Okay.
Yeah, and on the final front, this is the final thing. I have actually started, I have land in Malawi, and have started actually cultivating indigenous fruits, like wild fruits. I noticed that these are kind of like getting a bit extinct, things that we used to eat when we were kids, going to jungles and pluck those things and eat them. But with modernization, those things are being lost. So I'm creating a center, like kind of like of recreation with these wild indigenous fruits as well.
Okay.
So maybe if we can create a database like within that front to help each other and kind of like interlink in that way as well. So that's all for tonight.
Okay. Yes. Thank you so much. I will reach out to you on that project, and we need to know more on the Pan-African Daily, like connecting the others. Thank you so very much for calling.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Welcome. All right. So I have your two calls.
If you urgently need the books, I suggest you can get in touch with Dr. Susan. We can do a DHL quick postage, because that's the only messy part and very expensive part is the postage around Africa and the reliability of that postage. But yes, I have stock in Johannesburg. I can make it available.
Beautiful. I think the other question was like the gentleman who said about, the idea of government or blocking our resources. And you see, a lot of people also, that's also one point I wanted to miss. You went to your president in Harare and trying to say, Zimbabwe first. And we saw a lot of people just batching at you. Oh, now are you a politician? Oh, no. What is it that you can change without meeting with your leaders to talk about? Probably that's the issue that he's saying, the shadow government. Did you really have an agenda or a vision why you thought, let me address them? Of course we should.
As a grown-up person, if you take some passengers with you for 300 kilometers into the bush, into the forest, or into the sea, for weeks. Let me just make an illustration. For 42 years, you are traveling in the sea. And then you discover one day that the ship is not going in the direction you want it to go. You have 2 or 3 options. Option 1 is to talk to the captain. You know? And option 2, it is to destroy the ship and do lots of demonstration in the ship. And then tell the people, let's swim back to the shore. We will fight with the sharks and the waves for 300 kilometers. Tell me how many people will reach the shore. And the last option is to train one of you to take over the system, develop each other, and equip yourselves to participate. That for me speaks of a mature mind. That you cannot understand that America only has 2 political parties, the Democrats and the Republicans. Are you following? There's 2 parties. Yes. Britain has got 2 parties, the Labour and the Tories. 2 parties. Ask me how many parties are in Zimbabwe. Ask me. Ask me how many parties are in Zimbabwe. 150 political parties. And all of them want me to come and join them. And I'm saying, no, I can't. It is easier to destroy than it is to build.
Correct.
I would rather make a call to the people that I thought were strategic, which was the opposition leaders and the president. The opposition young man did not take me seriously, never answered my calls, and ignored me for 5 years. When I wanted to talk to him, I make one phone call to the president, and he says, come to my office, let's talk. How can you help us? So what must I do? Must I go and beg a young man who's got an ambition to become a president? Or must I work with the one who is able to start implementing the projects that the community is looking for? So I'm not mixed up. I'm a grown-up man. The young people will understand me later. But for now, I would rather walk up to the president and say, what are we going to do about the youth? There's 1, 2, 3, 4 projects. Can you run and implement them? We want this thing and this done. And I'm comfortable to begin to see some positives. That's where my media stuff comes in. I want to do a beautiful coverage and just present a beautiful story. Is that too much to ask? Is that too much to ask in this life? I'm tired of bad news. I've heard enough bad news to last me a lifetime. Every time I switch on the TV, I get depressed. People are shooting each other. There's HIV, there is sicknesses, there is COVID, there is what. It's and my mind can't process that. I've had enough. I don't have to watch TV for the next 10 years, and I bet you the day I start watching it, it will be the same story again. So let me focus myself on something that is healthy for my spirit, so that I don't have a problem of high blood pressure and increase my sugar diabetes. Let me just look for the good things that are happening in the community. I thank you.
You are so very correct. I mean, we're rounding up. That was just a conclusion on it. Like I said, we had Dr. Elaine yesterday, a holistic educator and author of Super Healing, you know, from a spiritual form. And she talks about body, mind, and spirit. And exactly that was the first thing that she left us with, like, don't watch TV. If you want to be healthy, if you want to grow, if your mind wants to rebuild and you know yourself, stop watching TV. And I do agree. For 2 years or more, I don't watch TV. 5 years even, I don't. Because I create our own. If you watch other people, you can create your own story. That's why we're busy creating our own media. And so you are perfectly correct, King Maponga. So when is the king ready? I know you're so tired. I can see in your eyes with all this traveling. We really want to thank you in your young age that you're still sportly and and still jumping from one step to the other. We really, really appreciate it. So just round up, what is the one takeaway?
One takeaway: when you go to the land of dreams, download the software of the spirit. Then convert your dreams into technology, from technology into network and voice and connections. Ultimately, your materials will come out of the quality of your imagination and the quality of your inspiration. So plug your mind to the world of the spirit. The library of a white man is in books. The library of a black man is in the spirit. So step in there. Someone slept, woke up in the morning, and they said Apple. Someone slept when they woke up in the morning, they said Microsoft. You, when you wake up in the morning, a snake almost beat me up. Why must you always be dreaming about snakes when other people sleep?
Or witch or something. We always see
witch is standing on a dark cloud. It's a dark cloud. And an African gets scared when they hear there's a dark cloud. It simply means it's going to rain. So get ready with your seeds. But why must you always wake up and you are scared of snakes and witches and dark clouds when other people are waking up with visions and dreams for creating technologies, creating new cell phones, creating new cars, creating new clothes, and all you dream about are snakes? Man, change your fears and you begin to have inspirational dreams. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Bayete, my king. Good night to you out there. We see us very soon, very, very soon. I think next week you're on again and we have to get this thing rolling on the topic that we talked about. But let me just connect to you about, the merchandising, and then we set the date for the virtual expo. Thank you so very much. Yeah. Our regards out there to the continent. Bye-bye. Good night.
Wonderful.
Bayete. Yes.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, all of you that have tuned in. I know it's because it's King Maponga, but do please help us to follow our campaign. We are installing and our satellite company is already ready, and we want to take it to the next level that reflects us in our work for the past 2 years. I mean, we can get more than 100 million watch hours, almost 100,000 subscribers, millions of followers worldwide, and we're still trending and on YouTube and Facebook. That's not serious. So now we're launching this official campaign of please do subscribe, of course, because we need to first of all use the satellite that we're having on digital media. But of course, we also do have, our brothers out there that are putting stuffs and queens out there that are saying, no, we need to own our own TV channel where we can comfortably sit and run a 24/7 channel. But for now, we are running that campaign. And the campaign is just please make sure you are sharing the Pan-African Daily TV YouTube and asking people to subscribe, and 10 by 10 by 10. And sometimes we are going to get there. That's the Africa we want to build. That's the Africa we want to see. So if you support me build the Africa, I support you, and all of us can only win. Nobody's going to lose in this game. So I want to appreciate you and thank you. I know it's really late out there, even out here as well. But of course, we do appreciate you if you join us tomorrow. Our first executive startup training is going to start tomorrow. It's not going to be live as a matter of fact, but we do ask you to watch this video again, this production that we just produced. We're going to rebroadcast it again tomorrow in the afternoon. So pay attention to that. And I want to thank you so much for your contribution, those that have contributed, those that actually are even just in the chat. I saw where you were watching from. I'm so sorry. It was not possible because, we had to pick some. I see all of you watching all across the world on the Pan-African Daily. How much more can we ask our unity to look like? I do appreciate you. I love you, love you, love you so much. And you do know that without me, no you, without you, no me. So we're going to continue this battle, and it's the battle of love. It's the battle of us fighting to unite. And it's not with weapons, but the biggest weapons that we have is our spirituality. You did heard it. So I will leave you with our slogan tonight, just like drink water and mind your African business. Drink water and mind your African business means, what can I sell? I'm an African, what can I sell? So make it a point of duty, and we see us tomorrow. Watch out who is going to be our guest for tomorrow. And we do thank you as we continue on this wonderful journey. Good night and good morning, good afternoon to all of you out there. Bye-bye. You are watching the Pan-African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tata. The Africa we want. Unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherlands calling its diaspora home. Join my voice. Join my team. Join my campaign. Campaign 21 hashtag 1 million subscribers on the Pan-African Daily TV YouTube. Be a volunteer. Apply now. Be the new Africa.